Shut up and sit down.
Hello gang, Colin here, Festa 67's workshop, and welcome to part 3 of the Kawasaki Ninja Carbon build-up. And as you can see, we got the swing arm done, we got the rear brake unit done, and these are all from the detail upset. So we'll put a little bit of glue in there and glue this bracket in. I've already fitted the hose, so it's got a matter of threading it through the little hole there. Just have a quick look with my eyes of all-seeingness. There you go. And that's in place. Just rest that in there. There's a little fitting that it sits against before the wheel goes in. And this is a single side swing arm on this bad boy, folks. Oh, cut me, eh? Yeah. Look at that brake disc. Oh, isn't it, eh? Absolutely. It's where the detail set comes into its own. Happy days. Now, I've started doing the chain on this, but I'm going to come back to it because it's a little bit fiddly and I'm a bit twitchy at the moment. So I'm going to put the kit chain in for now, and then I shall come back and add that at a later date. So let's use the old instructions there to cut the appropriate length bit of tube there, and then we can fit that on a little tiny lug there. Bit of extra fin on there, and then we'll push this tube home. Be careful with these, folks. They are fragile, these little lugs, and they will snap off. So you might want your pliers or something a bit more substantial to get it in place. I tend to use a pair of tweezers if it's really fiddly, but that went on straight away. Apologies for the arm. Right, tiny little bit of red there, ready to put this Brembo logo in, and all I do is I dab it on with a cotton bud, as you can see. Fill up all the voids, and then I'll go over it with a clean end and just wipe it away, and it just drops the Brembo paint logo in there quite aptly. Now, you do get a decal with the kits, you can go down that route. I kind of like using the paint. There you go. That's a bit of Evil Sun's Scarlet for those that are interested. Let's get the front forks going. And this is the little cross member. Bottom triple tree goes across there. So we'll put a dab of glue in. Just like that. And again, just to make sure. And then we can start putting these together. And it's this stage that I enjoy because the bike just starts taking shape now. And it lets you see all the goodliness that you're getting. So again, Wendy, many, many thanks and massive issued hugs and all of that. Because, yeah, she's a darling sending this through. All right, let's put this one in. I've put the brake lines in, ready for the calipers. So we can send that in just like so. Let that all set. There's the front mudguard or front fender, whichever way you want to look at it, on whatever side of the pond you're from. And that's the paint set that we've been using throughout. There you go. Look at that. A goodly nice bit of wheelage there, folks. And these front discs are also from the detail upset. So just drop that in place, like so. And we've got a screw that then goes through. And again, just nip it up for the moment until you get the front mudguard on. And then what I tend to do once the bike's ready to go on display is I tighten either the front wheel or the rear wheel fully, just so that it doesn't move. That way the bike won't roll off the work, the work surface or the shelf that it's on. Yeah, I'm really enjoying this. I'll get me coat. Yeah. So a little dab of extra fin, white cap even, just behind there, just to give that a bite. And then I squish the excess out. And then I shall true up the front wheel and then make sure we're happy. So I'll just bind it for now. Little dab of glue just on the back of these lugs, ready to accept the front fender, which then just goes in like so, clicks firmly in place on them lugs. Oh, look at that. And yeah. I was going to do a lap round the bench then, but yeah, you're watching, so you might mock me. Yeah, don't want that, do we? Right, let's have a look at the old destructions. Get the handlebars out. Look at them. Wow. Couple of little lugs there to go on. So we'll start putting them together. And then we got a bag of goodness here of little bits and bobs that we need to put in. And I pre-made some fluid reservoirs. And what I tend to do is I cut the lid off what you actually get with the kit. And then I use a bit of clear sprue. Make the reservoir out of that. And then I give that a dip in some clear yellow. And it gives you a really swanky looking fluid reservoir like them. Oh, gets him. It just looks like the real thing to me. So that's how I do it. There's a million other ways of doing it, whichever you choose. It's your model. Do with it as you choose, folks. So we got a little bit of quick drying super glue and some activator going on because I want these literally to bite straight away because yeah, they're on detail up photo etch brackets and I want them to stick. So I'm just using a bit of really a gloopy super glue and then a wodge of activator just to reinforce it. And sorry it's off shot, it's just I've got my big magnifying glass just to the side here and I need to see what I'm doing, folks. You'll see it as soon as it comes on screen. It's just on the instructions there. That's the bracket gone on. And then it will go on the handlebars themselves then. And then I shall show you them once they're done by the glue bottle there. As you can see, both reservoirs are in place. I know, it's coming together now. So it looks like we might be able to put the front end on at this rate. Getting all excited. Let's just grab a few bits and pieces and get the anticipation going for them. Couple of little bits just to put up underneath before I put the front end on, folks. Right, let's grab the engine and the frame and the front end and see if we can get this to go together. Just like that. Just nip the screw up. It's just a simple screw that goes through the top there and the handlebars go straight on there. So they're all sub-assemblies going together. But I want it as a firm fit just while I do all the tubes, hoses, brake lines and things like that. Just stops it spinning around when you're trying to line the hose up, that's all. So I've got to bring up all these pipes that are sitting around the frame and coming through it onto the appropriate lugs on the handlebars. So by having the front end slightly firm, I can literally just drop the hoses up as I want them and they'll glue to the appropriate lug on the handlebars. You'll see in the instructions where they all go. But for me, just tightening down the front end like that makes this task a little easier. Like I say, there's more than one way of doing it. It works for me. I just need to thread that through and bring that round the side of the engine there through the frame. Judicious bit of threadage required, so I might need me grippers of grippiness at some point. We'll see. See what I need. I might be able to persuade it through with a cocktail stick. The pliers are there just in case I need to resort to them, just to grab the end. And I've deliberately left this slightly long so that I can bring it through, grab it with the pliers if I need to, and then if I do damage the end, I can just cut that little bit off. So, yeah. And you do get a fair bit of O's with this anyway. Right. Should we weather these exhausts? Now, on this build, I'm going to use my good old trusty friend, the Tamiya powder set. And this is the exhausts, burnt exhaust set that you can get from Tamiya. So I can sit and just rub some of this on there. I'm not going to go for an aggressive look. I'm just going to do subtle undertones on this one. So hence why I'm doing the weathering set route. In the past, I've airbrushed exhausts to do this stage. I've used various weathering powders. And yeah, I always tend to go back to my powders. I just like the subtle look it gives me. Depends on what you're trying to achieve. If you look on a well-used bike look, then yeah, you can do a nice, beautiful effect with the airbrush. But I do find this quite therapeutic. Late at night, just sitting here doing the exhausts. And I just go backwards and forwards with different coloured powders as I need to. So I'll put my blues down, I'll put my browns down, my orange, etc. And then I just start them trying to blend them all together just to get a nice continuous effect, which is what I'm trying to achieve on this build. Just subtle. Yes, you heard it here, folks. Festa said subtle. And it's just a matter of rubbing it into all the crooks and nannies and trying to get that bluing effect in areas that heat would accumulate. So where the 4 exhausts go into one there, that's a prime area where you'd get a lot of heat. So I just blew that up quite nicely. And then I should go over it with the orange, then come back at it again with a bit of blue just to try and blend everything in. And then when I'm happy, I'll leave it 24 hours and then I'll just go over it from a distance with a nice satin varnish just to protect the pigment, which is all I want to do. I want it to stay on there, the powder. And then we can do the top edges of the exhaust manifold there where it comes out. It'll be nice and blue. And then it'll work its way from the blue, transition into the darker shades there. So that's what we're looking at doing on there. And it's just repeat the process until you're happy that you've done enough with it. And that's all I'm after, a bit of subtlety with it. And don't forget to come round the back and do the back parts as well. So they'll be nice and dark because obviously the heat will get trapped in there. And it's almost a shame because you do all of this and then you slap a radiator in front of it and the fairing on. Like anything, we know it's there. It's just starting to take shape. Don't be afraid to slap this on, because if you do put too much on, you can always go over it with a makeup brush, or I tend to use an old shaving brush, and you can just wipe it away and go for a more subtle look. I want to try and get into all these little areas where the pipes are close together, because the heat there, it'll almost trap itself in this little maze of pipes. So don't forget, folks, you know, if you need to, Google it, weathered motorcycle exhausts, and you'll see all different ways that this can be achieved. You'll also see some real life pictures of our exhaust systems on bikes blew up, and it'll just give you an idea, especially when it comes to your build, because like I say, you might want to do a bit more subtle. As you can see now, I'm just coming in with a bit of orange on these top edges, down the face edges of the pipes there. And again, I can brush this out and feather it out as much as I choose to. At the moment, it's just getting it on there. And I'm beavering away to myself here. I've got my Metallica playlist going on in me ear. So, yeah, I'm in heaven, so to speak. We just, little circular motions. Just get this on there, like so. Happy days. And I'm really beginning to feel where this is going now. There you go. Just showing that off to me mate in the hangout because I've got the zoom on as well, folks, because I'm in the hangout at the moment filming this. It's for the Zoom 24/7 hangout, folks. So you want to join that, click the button, become a channel member, and you too can come in and chat with us in the Zoom whilst I'm filming. Happy days. We'll just work our way back up through the transfer box there, working our way back up, catching any edges that we want, yellowed up, oranged up, whichever colour you want to say that is, and a little bit round the front edge of the transfer box as well, because that would get heat off the base of the engine there. So a little bit of light texture and a bit of weathering colour on there, and the same with the underside there of that pipe. So we'll just put a little bit of subtlety on there, a little bit of discoloration, like so. And I tend to try to have a separate brush for each colour if you can. And we're just coming back now with the blue, just retouching a few areas that I want blued up, folks. And put a cloth down on your cutting mat like I have, because this is quite a messy process. Well, it is when I do it. Don't forget, I've got the rear silencer case in there. I just want to put a little bit of soot around the edges of these two outlets. Not too much, just enough. And then again, I can feather that away as I need to. It just gives that a little bit of a, I wouldn't say too heavy a coked up look, because that would mean the bike's running a bit ropey. But yeah, just a subtle deposit is all I want. And again, it'll just give a bit of definition as well to some of the shapes on that piece. So I'll put that back on its stand. And then put the clip on, pack this away. But that's the Tamiya weathering set D, folks, for David. And that just gives you a nice, mellow, slightly subtle effect is what you want. It's what I'm after for this particular build. Once that's on the bike, that will then come together, and I'm liking the look of it. So I'm just going to mist over this with a bit of Mecha satin varnish is what I use. And yeah, I'll just show me mate the little soot deposit. Just put a little tiny ring around it. That's all it's done. Yeah, looking forward to that all being assembled, folks. What do you reckon? Yeah, radiator in front, little fairing on the side, but you'll still see from angles the bluing. That's why it's where it is. So let's dig out the old instrucciones, and shall we put the rear end together and get that ready to go on the bike. I'm hoping to have a fully rolling chassis by the end of this build, folks. That's what I'm hoping for. Right, let's attach that back on there so that when the wheel goes on, everything lines up where it should. There's a tiny little lug that bracket sits on, but I'm putting photo etch on plastic. So once the wheel's on, I'll go through with me nozzle with a bit of super glue on it, and I'll just drop a little drop in the gap, and it should then bind that fully together. So I just want to make sure that I get the right screw on this bad boy, and then we can start putting the rear wheel together. I'm going to use my tweezers there. make sure there by lining it up on the picture on the instructions it's the right one. And then we can drop that through the wheel and start popping this all together, folks. Deft little bit of turnage. There you go. Just get my eyes of seeing this out. Just so that we can see what's going on there. It's got quite a little lug on there, so I just want to see whether or not there needs to be an adjustment. Got a feeling it's on the brake side, so we'll just double check that, because the screw doesn't seem to want to fully go home. And I've got a resin section on the front of this. I've got a feeling it might just be a little too proud. But so we'll just finagle and do a bit of adjustment on it, just so that we can get that to fit in place. I can see that there's a gap there, so I just want to double check and get this wheel fitted. And this is the thing, sometimes you find when you're using aftermarket detail up parts that there might just be some fitment issues. So it always helps to dry fit things like I'm doing here. And then obviously if it doesn't fit as I'd like it to, I can then trim bits off and fettle it, and it will then fit as I want it. So now that I'm happy with that, we can start carrying on getting the rear mudguard on, the hugger, whichever way you want to call it. And it's all carbon fibre decaled as well, folks, as you saw in an earlier episode. I went a little bit mad with the detailing, and I think it's made the difference on this bike, to be honest with you. I mean, it is called the H2 carbon after all. So I just thought I'd carbon fibre quite a few of the normal plastic components, just to give it that little trick feel. So we got me screws ready to marry up this front and rear end section of the bike. Little bit of a fiddly stage this, folks, so you are going to be a bit cack-handed with it as you try to hold it all in place, but bear with it, it will go. It's just a matter of nuzzling this in the frame there. There's a nose there that I need to keep out of the way, but you want to come up at a strange little angle to get all of this to lock in place, because you've got your rear spring that is going to come up and engage as well. So I've just dragged the hose a little further back there just to stop it trapping whilst I engage this into the frame. And then you've got a screw that goes each side on this. So you want to just jiggle it about. See, I did say it's cack-handedness. So let's do it with the eyes of seeing this, just so that I can locate the centre spindle. And then we'll be able to put the screws in there, folks. But persevere with it. It's a bit Eve Robinson, but it will go, as you see. So it was many minutes of finagling that was had on this just to get it engaged. So as you can see, we've got a rolling chassis, folks. Oh, excited. There you go. So let's just put a little glue in there and a little dab in there, and we can get these stays on there then. Just drop that on the locating pin there and on there like so. Got one each side, and then I can go over it with a bit of extra fin just to let that bite and weld that all together. She is beginning to look rather splendid, isn't she? Look at that. Hey, come on, all day long. You know you want to. There you go. A bit of a persuasionary press. Bing. Oh, look at that. Hey. I do like me bikes. So we've got the seat under section there. So we'll just get the white tack out of there. And then that'll be ready then to click in place on the frame. There's a couple of screws as well to hold that in. But we might as well bung it on, see how it looks. And that then comes down each side. It's got the rear master cylinder on it. And it just literally goes on the frame. These two legs go each side of the petrol tank. It just drops into place like that. There or thereabouts. So we've now connected my hose because I didn't want to screw this on, fit it on, and then realise I hadn't put my hose in place. So I'm just checking all the hoses are where they should be before I screw this in place. And there's a tiny little screw there that goes in just to engage that. Like that. And then the petrol tank will then sit on top of the two lugs that sit out the side, and they're carbon fibre decaled as well, just to give it a little more character, folks. So we're getting close to the end of this episode, so we'll start our end of video wrap up by saying a massive thanks to all of you that support me, all of me channel members and me patrons. It really does help. It helps keep the channel alive, it helps keep the content coming, and it just keeps the hobby going for me. So from the bottom of my heart, a big thank you to each and every one of you that thinks of little old Festa and helps me out. It really does make a difference. I'm going to tweak that. And yeah, I'm tempted to make motorbike noises, but I won't just yet, folks. Not on camera anyway. But look at her. She is looking beautiful, isn't she? Yeah. I so want to make brum brum noises. Wendy, I hope you're enjoying this so far, love, because I'm loving every minute of this build. A big thank you again to the lovely Wendy Hickson with an H, folks, who sent me this build. Don't forget, you could also join me on Patreon by heading over to patreon.com/Festa67's workshop. But I'm going to leave you there with the bike at this stage and see you on the next episode. Yeah. Forgot a screw, didn't I? Doofus. There you go. That's more like it, Cole. Brum, 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 brum. Yeah. See you next time, folks. Bye-bye.
Hey kid, don't ever let them get inside your head. They'll tell you what to do in life instead of everything you know that you could get. Don't let them guide your life towards regret. I'll fight for what I love with every breath. My past is filled with things I won't forget. I use them all to push me to my best. So treat the worst of times just like a test. If only I could go back in time, I'd tell myself that everything will end up alright. Just push yourself, test yourself, figure out what you like, and find your limits, don't be rigid, always work towards a prime. Surround yourself with open minds, people can change your life. A few friends with intent can help you feel alive. Find a passion, take some action, and with a little time, just be patient, make a statement, try to enjoy your life. They'll try to kick you while you're down.